Okay, so if you've been joining us the last few weeks, you know that we have been doing a new series called Home Stories, and we've had a few people here live and a few pre-recordings of some people from our church and finding out what they've been doing during lockdown and what life's been like for them. And you might already know, but we've got Jamie and Vicky here today live.
Hey.
So it's good to see you guys here. And so we've got a few questions for you, and the number one question firstly is, what did an average day in lockdown look like for you?
Well, Becky, an average day in lockdown for me was I actually had to go into university and get some of my workstation back into our house. So I've got like a operator chair and a bigger screen and stuff like that. Get that set up, and then it was all about Microsoft Teams and working with my students and sort of managing the fallout of what was going on for them, because obviously they didn't know what was going on, especially our graduating students, but it seemed to work really well. You could talk very quickly, you could access people that you needed, and I think one of the interesting things is I had students in China, and I was providing software support to people in China, which is great. It's great that you can do that. I could control their computer from the other side of the world, and that was my average lockdown day.
So those Chinese students, they went back as soon as lockdown.
Yeah, I mean,
they
yeah,
got
it
on a
was
flight and headed home.
Well, it was tough because actually, like, one of my students was from Wuhan, and they were quite happy to be here when things were going bad in Wuhan, and then it flipped, and his mum actually works as a nurse, and when the numbers started increasing in Europe, she could see that it was actually, the pandemic was worse over here. So it was like, get back here where it's safer in Wuhan than it is in England right now. So there were some real troubles for some international students to get back home in time, because the borders did close, and some students have been stuck. I think they've got home now, but yeah.
And for people who don't know, what do you actually do, Jamie?
So I work on the BA Honours Interior Architecture course at the Arts University Bournemouth, and I work with students to help them with their software skills, 3D modelling, building information modelling it is, and we do a lot of design work, posters, books, websites and that sort of thing.
So what about you, Vicky? What's your average day?
Thanks, so I can talk into your microphone. So my average day was, so I would get up and do some exercise. We have a cross trainer at home, and during this time I've really kind of taken to making sure I was doing some exercise, especially because I knew that we wouldn't be getting out of the house quite so much. At the beginning, as most of you all know, I was still working, so I was trying to balance working with doing homeschool stuff with the boys, which was quite difficult, as I'm sure you can imagine. I'm sure you guys know how that works. Lots of Zoom chats with family members. We were speaking to them a lot, trying to get them set up with Zoom as well, so that was kind of interesting at the beginning, just sorting out kind of technical things like that. And then baking. I did a lot of baking. I made a lot of cakes at the beginning, and
Was that to like offset the exercise?
Yes.
yeah, that's why I
Eat
was
lots of
exercising, church. That's why I was exercising, because I was eating so much more cake. And then we would go out for our daily walk as well. So I was I guess I was trying to put in a bit of a routine, even though the normal routine wasn't really there. So yeah, that was my day.
Did you guys feel like you had a routine when you got started after?
I think we did. I think like a routine sort of started to develop quite quickly, especially with Vicky managing the homeschooling.
We tried to, but doing homeschool stuff is quite difficult, and so there would be things that we were getting from the school, worksheets and things that we would print out for the boys, especially for Isaac. Yes. And at first I was quite rigid on wanting to, right, you're going to do that bit of work in the morning, then we're gonna go out for a walk, then we're gonna do some more work. But actually that very quickly kind of fell away. It just didn't work out, and it was quite difficult to balance trying to do our own stuff, our own work, and make sure that they were doing plenty of their work as well. So yeah.
So here's a question: did Isaac and Judah like homeschool? Did Isaac and Judah like Jamie and Vicky as teachers?
Well, I think Vicky did most of that, and
Isaac said to me, "It's not like this at school, Mummy. They don't make me do this at school, Mummy." I think I was a bit more harsh, maybe. Less patient. I'm no teacher.
We realised how much respect we have for teachers over the schools.
Definitely.
And also, yes,
I do think kids are more well behaved for teachers though than their parents.
Yes,
they must be. Otherwise, it would be horrible.
It'd be chaos.
It would be chaos in the classrooms. Yes. Yeah. So, what was the blessings of the last 4 or 5 months of lockdown?
Well, I would say it was opportunities to spend time with the family. You know, we're not just having dinner together, we were able to have lunch together. Isaac made lunch for 3 days in a row, which was really nice. So it was those times that was a good opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. I have been reading a lot more. It doesn't happen very often. Doesn't happen. So reading a lot more, and I think for me as well, not feeling the pressure to try and fit so much stuff in. Like, day to day, normally school runs, doing certain things, I often feel like I'm kind of here, there and everywhere, and so it was quite nice just to take a break from that and have some proper family time back and just get rid of those everyday pressures actually.
Yes.
What about what's been the most hard thing during lockdown?
Sad times. I guess things that...
Did you plan to say that?
I don't plan to say anything.
Chips in with stuff.
I think it was events, birthdays, holiday that we planned that we couldn't do, and that's difficult, but you've got to look for other opportunities, don't you? So
I think for me, the opportunity, the blessing was that, it's kind of a bit of a double-edged sword really. So I was furloughed, as most of you would know, which obviously is not ideal and I'd rather have not been, but actually it was a blessing to me. So at the beginning, like I said, because I found doing the schoolwork and my own work quite difficult, once I was furloughed, it gave me back time that I could be able to spend time with the boys and
I think also for those, like you're saying, it's actually we all had things in our diary for 2020, didn't we, church? 2020 we had things in our diaries, whether it was at a birthday or celebration, especially Jamie and Vicky had their big 4-0 birthdays this year, and holidays and all this. And then I think as people, we like to plan, and when the plan doesn't happen, even if it's just a date in the diary, it's still a plan. And when it doesn't happen, we get really discouraged and disappointed, because we look forward to it. And in one way, there's nothing wrong with that, but at the same time, it's being that flexible to say, God, well, I'm going to sort out your life. And I think sometimes it's having that thing in our lives, isn't it, church, that in the years to come, God, I'm not saying COVID, I'm saying God might say, well, actually, you planned for this, but I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I've got something maybe better for you in your life. And it's that thing of actually having that, in many ways, lifestyle, but also spirit, being willing to be adaptable to what God's plan is.
Yeah.
And that's really hard, isn't it? That is really hard. And that might speak to you today, actually. What they've shared, Jamie and Vicky, is actually that adaptable spirit to go with God's plan. And that might be the hardest thing for you, because you love a plan and you've got to always keep to it. And there's probably lots of people in church like that, including myself.
Especially when you're like an organised person.
Yeah.
And you like things to be.
I do like things to be organised, and that was difficult. And actually, it was the restriction of not having the freedom in the same way. So as much as you could go out for your daily walk, which was great, and the weather's been amazing, not being able to go out when you want to be able to go out or go where you want to be able to go. I found that quite restricting. So in the reading and things like that, I would just make sure I went outside and sat in the garden just so that I could get some fresh air and sit and just enjoy some time. I did struggle with that.
Yes, and a lot of it is a mental thing, isn't it? Because we know that we'll be okay, but for some reason we think when someone's taken away a bit of, you can't go bowling, or you can't do this, or you've got to stay close to your home, we feel mentally, we're enclosed, we've lost our
freedom.
And it's a mental thing, which is hard, I think, for everyone, isn't it? It's definitely hard for everyone. So over the last, as many people at church will know, over the last couple of months, we've been going through 2 series, haven't we, church? Life of a Disciple and The Unhurried Life. And so what for you guys, Jamie and Vicky, what stand out for you? What jumped out for you and felt God speak to you about?
So as I said, I've been doing some reading. So I've read the Ruthless Elimination of Hurry book, which is very good, church, very good book. I know that Tim spoke about that the other week. And just in reading through that, I realise how much time I can spend on things like social media, online, all that kind of stuff. A lot of the time I feel like I'm wasting my time in that, but I don't realise that I'm wasting my time. It's almost like a habit, you pick up your phone, you look at it, you scroll, see what's going on. And I think at the beginning it was a way to kind of feel connected. We were on social media and using Zoom and all that kind of stuff so much, and just looking at the news and all those things. But I realised from the series and from reading that actually that was a bit of a thing for me that I needed to kind of really look at. And for both of us as well, we have both been talking a lot more about Sabbath rest and what that looks like for us and how we can implement that in our lives. And it works slightly differently for everyone. And I think reading through that book and then with the series that we've been doing as well, I've learned to think about it in a different way. It doesn't just mean sitting down and praying religiously or kind of singing worship songs and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of opened up conversation for us really on what that looks like in our lives.
I think that's totally true, isn't it? Because I think it was Bally who spoke upon the Sabbath one, and he talked about the spirit of the Sabbath. And exactly what Vicky's saying is, in terms of the Sabbath, church is not get lazy and pajama
just
day
do nothing.
That's not what it's about. It doesn't mean that you don't have those days, don't get me wrong. We some of us like pajama days, but that isn't the goal of the Sabbath. Sabbath is about refreshing, not just physically but also spiritually and mentally, emotionally. It's about refreshness in every way. For some of us that means going out with friends. For other of us it means going into the woods and being on our own. And you've got to know yourself to enjoy your Sabbath. And I think the key is, like you said, Vicky, is it's different for everyone and every family. Whether you're single, whether you're married with young kids or retired, everyone's at a different season of life. But everyone should be having a Sabbath, a time when you're getting refreshed spiritually, emotionally. So as time goes past, we'd love to hear you guys how that's working out for you guys and what you've changed or adapted in your life. But what about you, Jamie? What has God been speaking to you about?
Yeah, well, I think it's been a really interesting time. Preparing things like we did in our Elders Away last year, and looking at church together and church where you are. It's been God has been putting things in place which has been incredibly helpful for us in this situation, and I think there's been a lot to enjoy about the Life of a Disciple and the Unhurried Life series, and reading the book was really good. I think that during this time, just as you mentioned, Tim, that God has cut things away and has given us the opportunity to be adaptable to change, and that's really important. So I think one of the things that I've enjoyed the most over this time is how our church has been fed and how it has adapted to the different situations. All the stuff that you guys have done, to be able to connect with the majority of church straight away, that the priority has always been to keep the church connected and together. So that's been probably one of the most exciting things for me.
Yeah.
Yes, it sounds like God has been speaking to you, but is there anything else that He's been doing in your life over the last few months, would you say?
I think it was actually when you guys spoke to Sharon and Dave, something that Sharon said really struck a chord with me. So I would say that I'm quite a Martha type of person. I do like that routine. I like to know what I'm doing, and kind of during this time that has all felt very different. Things have been completely different from what I would normally do, which has been really difficult sometimes. I struggle with that, and I recognise that kind of that controlling aspect that I do have, that I kind of like things to be in control. And during this time God's like, well, no, I'm in control. Things aren't what they would normally be for you, and so I think for me, you said about it at the beginning this morning in your prayer, or it's similarly, that for me it's been about refocusing on God, and just kind of He's been bringing things back into focus for me. I can't say that I'm doing everything amazingly and I've got it all sorted. I haven't. It's very much a work in progress, but He's really kind of just picking up certain things, and with the things that I've been reading, just about refocusing my time. Where do I spend my time? How do I spend my time? How can I do that differently? Reading my Bible more, reading more books, just spend time, even just spending time, in our going out for walks or sitting in the garden, just taking time to pray, doing things differently actually, in a way that I haven't done for quite a long time, because I'm that kind of person where I'm just like, I need to be busy, I need to be doing things. And so it's been a really important time of reevaluation actually for me, which is kind of a bit of a work in progress really. I think it will continue, and as things change as we go along, it changes bit by bit, but I think it's really important that I don't kind of slip back into the ways in which I was doing things before.
Yes. What about yourself, Jamie?
Well, I agree. I mean, I think that that's probably one of the biggest battles we're going to face, is as things start to become more normal. Are we going to let those distractions back into our lives? So I mean, the time of self-reflection that you can get during this situation, we won't be able to get it in the months to come, where other things come up. So taking that time to pray, to be with God, to self-reflect, to consider what you are feeding your soul is really important. And I think the distractions still come in, whether that's news, media, social, all sorts of things that can be going on. But like David, we need to preach to our soul. We need to remind our soul, our spirit, where what our focus is, and that's it's really important. And in our smaller little bubbles and stuff, we should be able to remind each other, of those simple necessities.
Yes. And I think you said in terms of like self-reflection, Jamie, is that often some people are great at self-reflecting, and often they get themselves down because they're so good at self-reflecting. They look at all the bad points they're reflecting at. But to self-reflect and be good at it, and then change your life, is a real asset to your life. Because some people are very good at changing their life, but they change for the wrong reasons, because they didn't self-reflect. If you know what I mean. So often people are good at one or the other, but to be good at both and then to do it and keep it and be consistent is quite a hard thing. It doesn't come. I don't think it comes natural for most of us.
No.
And to be able to take pause, I'm going to self-reflect, then then, well, I've self-reflected. How do I change it in my actual practical life every day?
Yeah.
Whether that's the life of the cyber and hybrid life, or whatever God's been speaking to you about.
Yeah.
And you know, God's always speaking to us, isn't he, through many seasons of our life, and it won't change. But that thing of actually saying, well, this is what I want to change in my life. And it could be just something as simple as like, well, I'm not sleeping at night. Well, the self-reflection is I need to stop eating chocolate the night before and watching movies to midnight. You know, like just, it's nothing spiritual, but that is a self-reflecting. Well, you need to change it now. You know what you need to do. But there's things of our own lives, our spiritual lives with God, where we think, well, actually, I want to be able to I want to know God more. I want to experience His presence more. So I need that unhurried life. So I take time to hear Him. Well, I need to do that. What am I going to change in my life? One very practical thing they did years ago was that Jane went to 4 days a week. That is a practical step. And they probably do more than that, don't get me wrong, but it's a practical step that actually I'm going to do this so I have a better family / spiritual life and a mental and emotional life with it all. I would love to hear, just to finish off, how you guys came to Christians, how Jesus followers, you know, how did that happen to you guys?
You should go first.
Okay, so let's think. So there's a lot.
Some Dean in there.
There was. So I guess like my mum was exploring her faith, and so I got to be the son who was experiencing his mum become a Christian and think, who are these weirdos? You know, what is this? This church is nuts. You know, is it some sort of cult? You know, all of that sort of stuff. Get away from my mum type thing. So I got to experience that. So we got little tastes of what the church was like and what it was about and all that sort of stuff without, you know, properly understanding it whatsoever. But then I made a really good friend at university who was a Christian who was really helpful in answering questions and just living by example, because that is the best way to encourage others with the faith. So thanks, Dean. So that was cool, and then I think part of the process, you know, just zooming forwards in your work, your walk, is that, you know, things happen and that changes your walk. So, you know, obviously I was very poorly at one point, and I experienced several miracles of healing in that, but in that whole process, a chance to understand my faith, you know, sort of earthquake moment in life, you know, and after that I started doing foundations, because the church blessed me with an opportunity to study the Bible and hermeneutics and all that sort of stuff, and it's just been an incredible journey. So I think that's sort of a roundup of my coming to. Have I missed something?
No, I don't think so.
Good.
I don't think so. There's probably lots more you can say. It's quite hard to put it into a short amount of time. So for me as well, similarly at the beginning, you know, with Jamie, we were both like, who are these people? Church is weird.
So were you guys together?
We
before?
were. So
yes.
we met at college. We met when we were 18.
Yes.
And we met our friend
all
Dean.
That long time ago.
Yeah, we met our friend Dean that Jamie spoke about. So we were kind of journeying through a lot of this stuff together. But Jamie was probably seeing more than I was at that time, I think. And we'd gone away to study at university, and so we were kind of away from church lifestyle, really. And I was just, the whole time I was kind of seeing what Jamie was going through and seeing him go to church, and he got baptised, and I wasn't there for that. And actually Jamie phoned up and wanted me to come see his baptism, and at that time I couldn't do it. It was too much for me. I didn't want to be.
It was too weird.
It was too weird.
Yes.
I didn't want to be a part
Who are those
of that.
people pushing people underwater?
Yeah, it was too strange. But I had been going along to church now and again, and our friends Dean and Bernie, we had been to Citygate with them sometimes. There also used to be a meeting. I think it was at Bournemouth Football Club back in the day. It was called Meet Jesus.
Oh, yes.
I think a kind of forerunner
to
that. All the West Point things that we do now and Connect and all that kind of stuff. And so I was seeing a lot of stuff. I was, hearing a lot from a lot of people. But for me, it was always really important that I had to make up my own mind. And because Jamie was already a Christian at that stage, I didn't want to do it just because I didn't want to become a Christian just because Jamie was a Christian. And that was a big thing for me. And also coming to the Vine in the first place, I was really conscious that Jamie had been there for a while, and I felt like everybody knew about me before I was already there, and that bothered me, that everybody had maybe already made a judgment of who I was and what I stood for because of Jamie, and I really struggled with that in the beginning. But I did get past that, obviously. I got past that. And so Dean's wife, Bernie, I don't think they were... Oh yeah, they were married by then. She'd been praying for me, and actually she gave me a specific word about not sitting on the fence. You've got to make a decision. I can't remember the exact verse. I think it was in 2 Chronicles about Baal and about choosing your God.
Yeah, choosing your God, yes.
And in between that, so she gave me this word, and then in between this, I had a God-given dream. It was one of those ones that's very vivid, so I knew, I was like, that's not a normal dream. And in this dream, I'll summarise it as quickly as I can. I'd been in a nightclub with my friend Bernie, and there was literally fire coming up through the grates in this nightclub, and she took me by the hand and she walked me up out of the club, up some steps, and then we were in Bournemouth, and up a big hill in Bournemouth, and I turned back and there was like a firework display and a party, and there was a great big gap in the road, and I had to make a choice of whether I was going to jump over the gap, which I did jump over the gap. And at that time, it was before I became a Christian, I couldn't really work out what that dream was about. And then we had gone to church one Sunday, and it just so happened that the person that she was lodging with at the time came to preach at our church, and he had changed his sermon that morning. He didn't really know what he was going to be preaching about, and he had said he didn't know how God could use him anymore, and he did this preach, and part of his preach was about sitting on the fence and making a decision, and I was just sat in church like, oh my goodness, this is freaking me out right now. And he said, if anybody wants to respond to that, and for me it was always a big deal that I would have to walk up the front. I didn't want to do that with everybody watching me. That was a really difficult thing for me. So he was just kind of like, want everyone to bow their heads, close their eyes, and if you want to respond, just put up your hand. And I was like, I can do that.
Yes.
And then from then on, it's just been
journey,
it's just been the journey of it all. And now look, I'm working for the church. It's
Wow, that's amazing to hear. And like just a couple of things. First thing is that everyone has friends and family that they are praying for them, and as a witness to people. And in Jamie and Vicky's story, they had friends and family that at key moments speak into their lives, but also just there constantly being a friend. And the encouragement for us, church, is that actually we have people now that we just need to carry on being friends, praying for them, and at key moments witnessing. And that was the key for you guys. And then God just does a miracle as well, obviously. And
it's easy to think that you're not contributing to someone's journey by just being a friend and loving them and stuff, and then
our neighbours and stuff like that.
You just don't know.
And this is what Church Where I was about. Is actually, it's not about holding a massive event, inviting thousands of people, and just pray God you turn up this day. But actually, it's the consistent thing of saying I've got neighbours, I've got family, I've got friends, I've got work colleagues, hobbies I belong to, where I just want to be myself and who I love God, and if God give me opportunities, and I'll pray for them.
Amen.
And it's a long jeopardy thing, isn't it? That's the hard thing about it. We're talking long-term stuff here.
Yeah.
But the prize of it is like Jamie and Vicky. I expect your friends and family were praying for you. Well, Jane and stuff was praying for you for months or years beforehand. And actually, God sees the whole picture. Yeah. And you might be at home today, you're listening online, and you're like what Vicky said as well, that you're on the fence, you don't know which way. And if you are on the fence and you don't know which way and you want someone to talk to, please get in contact with us. We'd love to talk to you, and we'd love to speak to you, and we could put you in touch with an appropriate person to maybe meet up or to talk over the phone. But we'd love to talk to you if you're on the fence and you don't know if you should believe or not believe. There's an opportunity. You might be at home, but there's still an opportunity to know and to follow Jesus for the rest of your life as well. So thank you, Jamie and Vicky. I just realised their Jamie's t-shirt, vintage 1980. That's when you're born, right?
That's right.
Yeah, 1980.
It's the best year.
The best year.
Best year.
80s. Also, if you missed it at the beginning of the pre-service warm-up, we had a Rubik's Cube. Jamie did the Rubik's Cube in 3 minutes. Here we go. 3 minutes and 39. 3 minutes and 39 seconds. Apparently Dylan can do it for under a minute.
Yes.
Oh, I want to see proof of that. Yeah.
That's, if you don't know who Dylan is
Alan Jane's grandson.
Alan Jane's grandson.
Yeah. Bring it on, Dylan.
Keris and Duncan's son.
Video footage.
Yes, video. Anyone else, if you think you could beat that, if you even think you can't do a minute, just get the videos in, get things in. We'd love to hear from you. And so we're gonna, as usual, we're gonna play 2 songs out. So this is your opportunity. Listen to them, even if you're gonna do the washing up or get the food prepared. You know, praise Jesus whilst you do it. We can still praise you, or you might want to sit down in quiet and just listen to the songs. But please do worship Jesus where you are in your homes. And we've got the prayer meeting tomorrow. Don't forget, it's Sue's funeral on Thursday, and I'll send out an email just to remind people of times if you can make it outside the hub on Thursday. But thank you for tuning in. Have a great rest of the Sunday, and praise Jesus for all the incredible work he does in our lives, his faithfulness, his grace. And don't forget, he is in all things. Whatever you're going through today, if you're in hospital, if you're down in sorrows, or you're loving life, he is in all things. Just say thanks, Jamie and Vicky.
Bye.
And from us too, goodbye, and have a great rest of the Sunday. See you later, church. And here is, yet not I, but Christ through